Okay, so today we are doing a gore makeup for horror leading up to Halloween. And we have started with Jen in a beauty makeup, and because that's how she looked before she got beat up. And now we're doing a black eye, some bruising, a cut. What else are we doing?
I think we were gonna maybe do a little blood.
A little blood?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's been in a fight, she's gotten attacked, something. So all different kinds of techniques for...
Yeah, so I started doing kind of like a pinkish pale color just in the area that we're gonna do the main bruising and stuff, so kind of got our guideline. And now I'm gonna go in with a little purple. Start with the bruising.
So remember, if you're doing any kind of bruise, that bruises go through several stages before they heal. And so at first you get an injury immediately and there's no bruise. It hasn't had time to bruise yet. And then the swelling starts, the skin gets darker and darker as the blood starts to clot underneath the skin. So eventually, you know, later on that night or early the next morning, it'll be the darkest, purpliest swollenness that it gets. Then after that, as it's healing, the color will get lighter and lighter. It'll fade from purple through to blue to green. The center will stay dark, but the edges will get more and more yellow as the bruise gets older and older and older until finally it fades and you're left with non-bruised skin. So you have to decide how old the bruising is before you start the makeup. If it's an old bruise that's healed, it's going to be more yellow. But if it's a fresh one that you just got, then it's going to be big, swollen, purple, icky. There's lots of different colors in a bruise. You want to make sure you don't just use purple, and whatever you do, don't use black. Bruises are not black. They're dark. Dark purple, dark green, dark blue, not black. And you know, remember that lighter colors advance, so if you want to make something look swollen, paint it a lighter color, and darker colors recede. Which is kind of counterintuitive if you're doing a bruise, because you want it to be dark and ugly, but you also want it to look swollen. So the center is going to be the dark color, and the edges will be the lighter colors. Like a rainbow. It's a rainbow of colors in your bruise.
Yeah, I think using creams for bruises is the best.
The best,
yeah.
I do too.
It's just a lot easier to blend it and get it where it's fading. So, some of the green, I'm so excited to use it.
So just like puke green.
It actually makes a really pretty base for eyeshadows.
I bet. So already Jen's poor little face is starting to look like somebody's had used it for a punching bag.
purple under the eye. Yep.
Yeah. The thinner and more sensitive your skin is, the worse it's going to bruise. So particularly the skin around your eye is very thin. So it's going to show the darkest colors of your bruise. Or, you know, maybe Jen is, what's that movie about the girl wrestler?
Close.
With Clint Eastwood?
Oh, it's Million Dollar Baby?
$1 Million Baby. There we go.
Hilary Swank.
Yeah, Hilary Swank.
I was just telling Jen I had a girl who's a soccer player come in and her whole eyeball was like red.
Yeah.
Close.
It's amazing to me our body's ability to heal itself when it gets injured.
Open.
And of course, there's so many plays that feature injuries or disease, death. You know, just look at Shakespeare. Everybody dies in Shakespeare. And then you've got, you know, plays that people have cancer, plays that people have AIDS,
Abused women,
bar fights. Somebody's always getting hurt in a play, or stabbed, or beheaded.
Tense.
So a working knowledge of gore, disease, trauma, injuries, makeup is always good for a theater artist. Awesome. You look terrible. In a good way.
Let's get a little bit of the fake blood if we can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know. in terms of blood, I mean, unless you're doing a zombie or some other, you know, slasher film makeup, you know, a little bit goes a long way. If it's supposed to be something that happened realistically, yes, face wounds do bleed a lot, but really, in terms of blood, less is more, you know. Unless you're doing Friday the 13th. Then more is more. Then you need gallons of blood. Or, you know, Carrie the musical.
There's a musical of that?
Yes, somebody made a musical out of Carrie.
What psychopath did that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm all about the arts, but I think that's taking it a little extreme.
Yeah.
Get a nice cut here.
While we're talking about blood, you can make your own blood at home.
Get your arms.
With corn syrup and red food coloring will work just fine. But you got to remember that if you're using food coloring, that's a protein dye. So if you expect to wear silk or wool with your makeup and you get blood on that, it's not going to come out of it because it will dye your silk or wool clothing. So wear cotton. I prefer to buy my blood from theatrical makeup suppliers because that stuff's guaranteed to wash out the costumes.
Guarantees are good, especially with blood. You don't want that to stain your nice silk
Blouse or whatever you're wearing.
for your period zombie or vampire.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, and they also sell all different kinds of blood formulas. You can get blood that dries but still looks wet for a more permanent effect on like your zombie makeup or costume. If you're doing Shaun of the Dead and you need that one red pin spot in the white shirt, you can get the blood that dries but still looks wet.
Close.
You can get blood that's safe, that's food grade, so it's safe for capsules in the mouth, that you can drink or eat. You can get blood that dries and looks dry, blood that dries and looks wet, blood that never dries. You can get blood in flavors, cinnamon, chocolate, for all your vampire characters. You can get 2-part blood, so part A is invisible, part B is invisible, but you touch them together and all of a sudden there's red blood. So that's great if you're doing Dracula and you need to have a cut show up in real time when he slashes open his chest, or well, you know, several different versions of that script.
Okay.
Looking good. Do you pronounce it done, Emily?
I think
Is
it looks done.
I think it looks great too.
I can only be so bloody and
Yeah.
so beat up.
Again, less is more, you know. I mean,
Show the picture.
you saw Jen, she was beautiful before, now she's a mess. There we go. This is our inspiration, what we were going for. And there's our result. You look terrible. Go see a doctor.
I will.
And next week is monsters, so we will be coming to you with an interesting monster makeup next week.